Welcome back to Echo Ridge. Today, once again, we have a lot to do, but primarily on my focus is going to be consolidating the water supplies for our spawns. As you can see, we don't have a lot of water feeding all 6 of these spawns, and part of that problem is the fact that we have water being sent all over the planetoid. Second of all, I want to get everybody in suits today, which is going to involve quite a bit of work because, well, we don't have enough suits around here. Not that I'm looking forward to hitting deliver suit another 90 times. We do have some copper suits queued up to be made. I put in 74, even though I think that's probably overkill. Remember, I do like to have a few excess, so that way when one suit is being repaired, another one is ready to be delivered. You can see here we have 3 ready to be delivered now. We also have the suits going into the industrial sauna that we'll be able to get rid of. Suits going into our chlorine bath that I guess I was just working with some bomb lilies. I don't think I need these anymore. So let's get rid of those. That'll be 2 more suits for us. And it will also free up a leg of this oxygen. Although this might be one of the spawns that is on the chopping block, which is almost a shame considering it has a very nice cooling system already built in, thanks to it being conveniently located next to the aqua tuner that is taking care of all of the steam turbines for the sauna. So maybe we will just run this somehow over here into our condo system. This one's being cooled as well, which I like. This one, though, is no longer being cooled. As you can see by the temperature overlay, all the temps in this biome are up to about 30 degrees. That's not too bad, considering we tapped this spawn a long time ago, and this biome took care of the cooling for it for quite some time. Ooh, more free copper. I also deconstructed some of the suit docks for our Dreco area, well, because this is more suits for our condo system. And I need to get the rest of the dupes and suits as soon as possible because this is no small task of grooming all of these Drecos. We also have quite a few suits down here, which I think I can get rid of now. I'll leave a few just in case we need to grab some copper or whatnot. Oh, and I just noticed a significant problem. When I was down there deconstructing those suits, this hydrogen is going the wrong way. Why is it going up? I need another directional in here. All that excess hydrogen is supposed to be heading off to the hydrogen spine. So I will just put a nice directional, we'll say right there. And that should fix everything. I need that done as soon as possible though, because this hydrogen area is bleeding quite a bit of hydrogen into the oxygen supply, which is only going to cause me to have to repair more suits and give the dupes itchy eyes. I also queued up a bunch of dig commands in this space biome for the reason there's a bunch of free copper and I need to get in there. And I suppose I'm going to have to open this? Why do they say they can't get through? It says it's an unreachable dig, so I suppose I'll just open that. I also need to move all the tasks that I can inside the condo, such as running on the wheels when we need, because the more tasks that we have inside the condo, the less dupes need to go out, which is going to be very important when we flip over the dudes from being in suits out here to not being in suits out there. For instance, these barracks need to go away for sure, as do these bathrooms. I suppose the easiest way is just to deconstruct the sinks and allow all the excess polluted water to be sieved, and then I'll take care of all that clean water by rerouting it. Now, we already have a decent water tank in here, so I think step 1 is just going to be extending it and starting to fill it with water. And then I'll just add a bunch of pumps in there and send those off to the spawns. For instance, this water line here splits off into 2 spawns, and then where is that originating from? All the way... Oh, it's coming from our primary tank, so that's kind of good. But we have a lot of sources of water on the colony that are not going to this tank first, and it would be easier to consolidate all of the water and then sort of spider it out to each of the spawns. Oh, Rebecca, what are you doing? Okay, let's start by getting rid of those sand tiles. Good job. All right, now move down here. Do not jump back up. No, Rebecca! Why would you do that to yourself? Okay, it looks like Rebecca has finally learned that they can actually jump down, and they will be saved. There you go. Take nice deep breaths. I also have this polluted water vent that I have no idea how long it's been doing this. It's just heading to this vent and dropping all the way down in here. It makes more sense to link this up with this pump here, probably putting a priority on the vent and heading it off to the sieve. So this is good. Sort of step one. We're already making good things happen. And in order to make sure that geyser has priority, I will put a bridge here. That way this pump in this giant pond will only be used as long as this line is empty. Which, where is that polluted water going? Why isn't it going to the sieve? Oh, it's going to our wonderful fertilizer and then to a dead end. More pipe savings. So this water sieve here is only being used from the carbon skimmers? No. Let's get that modified a little bit. This water sieve is being used, but not this one. Let's see if we can't organize this just a little bit better. This pipe and pump all the way down here are no longer needed, so it can go away. This pipe was used to fill this coolant loop, which could probably use to be filled a little bit more. Let me do that before I deconstruct it. And when I'm looking at trying to untangle all this spaghetti, I realize it's probably a little bit better if I just consolidate where all of our water sieves are too. And that would be more conveniently located by the water tank that we're building. So I'm just going to go across like this and build that up just like there. Pretty sure we don't need any of this coal power anymore. So let me get rid of it. That's not needed. All that digging in the space biome has resulted in about 39 tons worth of copper ore. So we're refining it and going to turn all that copper into some nice suits. Oh, what did you do? Oh, you're not stuck. You're just confused. Go do something. Oh, why are you just standing there? Remove that center wall. I'm actually going to put some airflow tiles down here. Allow all that carbon dioxide to go somewhere else. Maybe a few of them every so often. Actually, that's not going to matter because the more this water tank fills, all that carbon dioxide is going to go away anyways. I suppose I can also open up this area, which will help movement in and out of here. And I think this is going to be a perfect spot for our water sieves. And we are not going to need poles inside of our water tank. Furthermore, I also don't think we need ladders inside of our water tank, so I will start deconstructing all of these as well. 2 water sieves should work out fine. You'll notice I've put in a few more oxygen diffusers in and around the base as we scan through, and that's in anticipation of us destroying some of these spalms. Now that I'm thinking about it, is 2 water sieves going to be enough? The first line is going to be this one, which we can get rid of. I suppose I want to flip those as well. Or maybe just flipping one of them and then I can combine their outputs, because remember the water sieve can only take in 5 kilos of polluted water per second, and it outputs 5 kilos worth of clean water, which means it takes 2 water sieves to take care of 1 full pipe of polluted water. So what we're going to end up doing is combining these outputs, dump them right into here. We'll end up putting some automation. Once this whole tank is filled, we don't want it to overflow. And then all we'll have to do is bring in 1 full pipe of polluted water. We do have 3 dupes to print out today. And the first pod came, so we have the choice between a Stela and a Sonyar. And I think we're going to go with the Stela. Having the advanced medical booster means they're handy with the gunk machine, and their negatives aren't too bad with just cuisine and agriculture. So welcome to dupe number 144, Wild Rat. Speaking of water sieves, it's time to put in a loop here. We have a lot of carbon dioxide already stacking here from all of the dupes who live, breathe, and exhale in the condos. So I think I'm going to put in quite a few carbon skimmers. I do have a water line right there I'll be able to tap into. And I'm going to go excessive with the carbon skimmers because remember, each carbon skimmer can only deal with 300 grams per second of carbon dioxide. And I'd rather be safe than sorry. Remember, this is the absolute bottom of the base, so all that carbon dioxide is going to sit down here. Suppose I can recover all this metal from the fire pole. The dupes will not be using it. Remember, this is the bottom of the condo, so dupes aren't going to exactly be sliding down through because they have to go out in suits. So I'm going to have to reroute this. Oh, this is going to be a headache. I think that'll work. Remember, when you're dealing with liquid outputs, you don't want to put them in succession like this, or they will clog themselves up. So we're going to do something like that. Bring them all the way to the sieve. And then add a little spaghetti just like that. So the clean water that can go back into the carbon skimmers is going to come out like this. And then all I have to do is charge it, and that should take care of the carbon dioxide situation inside the condo. Furthermore, if we do decide that 6 carbon skimmers is not enough, all we have to do is create some more. Speaking of which, I do not want that gas vent going there. It'll end up overpressurizing this entire area, because as soon as a little carbon dioxide sits up on this tile, the gas vent will overwrite the carbon dioxide and spit out more oxygen no matter how much oxygen is here. So let's deconstruct that, and I'll have it feed these gas canisters here. Back onto the spaghetti, I can get rid of these 2 water sieves, because this line is now going to feed all the way up to this water sieve system. And we also don't need carbon skimmers down here, which is going to save us a little bit of power. We won't care about carbon dioxide going down here too much, but if any of it does, these gas pumps will be able to take care of it and vent it off to the vacuum of space. Oh no, we're also getting excess hydrogen in this pipe here. What's going on? That seems fine. Is that the right pipe? Yes. I'm starting to wonder if 250 and 450 are no longer doing what they're supposed to be doing. As you can see, this pipe has plenty of room and should be providing all of its hydrogen to its own hydrogen generators that are self-powering the SPOM, so at no point should there be any hydrogen that dips down here. Oh no, we left debris in there. You didn't see it? I didn't see it. It's not there. Almost done untangling this. And it starts with just deconstructing every single one of these bridges, because they're just causing me a headache. As for the regular water in here, it looks like this line goes up to a SPOM, so I can get rid of that way. The thimble reams are no longer growing because it's too hot over here. This does not need to be a bridge anymore, because it is just going all the way up. But we do need a bridge here. And once again, we will prioritize the water coming from that polluted water vent, and then supplement it with the giant polluted water pond at the bottom here. Now, I still need to take care of what does need polluted water, such as our fertilizer stations. So I think I can just bypass from here, and we'll go straight across and somehow link into there. Now, this is going to be somewhat of a headache because I have no idea where these are going. But at least I can see their direction for now, until I get those pipes cleaned up as well. And I'll slowly allow this line to drain, so I can completely remove that line. And look at this spaghetti, almost completely gone. And we'll be able to get rid of all this polluted water just by linking up like that. I can snip it from the thimble reed, and then plumb all this out. I guess they don't have any polluted water? No, they do. I guess we'll empty storage. I figured you'd be able to plumb that. Apparently not. Now this line is actually heading to one of our primary spawns. We will end up using this once it's cleaned up. But look at all this ridiculous spaghetti just gone in the blink of an eye. Our carbon skimmers in the bottom of the condo are ready to be charged. And all we'll do to that is just hook that pipe right in. And I'll wait until this entire line is filled back up to this point right here. Looks like that water is confused. That way we know there's always enough clean water for the carbon skimmers, and then I'll snip it back, and the water sieve will take care of the rest. And there we go. The water sieve has plenty of room to be able to get rid of the polluted water, and there's enough clean water in the system to keep the carbon skimmers going. Now, we could have ended up putting in some gas pumps and vented all of that to the vacuum of space, and we may one day. But right now, our space garbage lines are pretty chocked full, so I didn't want to add to that system, nor did I want to get more gas pipes involved in this giant mess. Well, I'm not going to say mess, because considering what we did with this, I think it's a mighty fine job. And if it is spaghetti, it's the cleanest looking bowl of spaghetti I've ever seen. Alright, all that polluted water is now drained, so we can get rid of that line. I will snip this off from here. And now we have a primary line right there to feed some SPOMs. This bottom line is responsible for the 2 far left SPOMs. So let's follow it up and see where it's going. For some reason, this line is doing a 50-50 split, which is fine. I'm sure there's SPOMs up here that it's taken care of that will eventually put it on its own pipe. But why is it then overflowing to be dumped right back into the tank? That is redundant. It was probably an old system that we were using. Now all we have to do is do some bridge flippings. In fact, I'm not even going to use bridges. Oh, and look how much piping we've saved. by moving those water sieves up. All of these pipes are now going away. This was carrying polluted water from the bottom of the colony. Now, I don't love the fact that right now this one pump with 10 kilos worth of water, when we have water in our tank, is responsible for 4 different spawns. That's not going to work. One spawn up here. Actually, no, it's doing a 50-50 split with this spawn, which we're going to take offline. Nothing's going to go wrong, I'm sure. This is going to be okay. Even if some of the boops were getting their oxygen from these canister fillers, we'll just start deconstructing all of this. Oh, yes. You gotta love it when a plan comes together. Now, of course, this is going to end up our mealwoods overheating. We'll have to provide an alternate form of cooling. Oh, look, we already did provide an alternate form of cooling. Man, I should have done this cleanup a long time ago. Do I have an oxygen line that is close that can keep these Drecos going? I guess it can wait. We're only probably a dozen or 2 cycles away from all the dupes being in suits anyways, and then these suits will no longer need oxygen. There is some oxygen left in these lines, so I am just going to dump it all right into there. That will be fine. And I gotta be honest, this might be the first time I've ever deconstructed a spawn. Let me know in the comments below if you're a long-time viewer and you've ever seen me deconstruct a spawn on YouTube. Now, I would like to use the rest of this hydrogen, so I'm going to turn this on to say above 0. So that pump will drain as much hydrogen as it can. And once we think it's done, in other words, I start seeing oxygen, I will turn that pump off. And there's our first blob of oxygen, so I will separate it out. And then we're going to deconstruct this bridge, and I'll reroute all this hydrogen to head off to the spine before this top leg of the hydrogen spine gets deconstructed altogether. Ooh, I suppose I could just do this and separate it like that. And now when we deconstruct the hydrogen generators, all of that hydrogen will be rerouted. Look at all this wonderful material we're getting back too. Oh, this is wonderful. Who's scalding? What's going on? Why are we scalding? Oh, this is a little warm. Don't worry, we've got great medical insurance. Which reminds me, I'm going to need to get rid of all these gunk extractors up here. There's no reason for the boops to be using those when they have 12 perfectly good ones over here. And remember when we started this, we were just trying to get rid of this one liquid pipe. And look how much cleaning we've done. Eventually, I'm also going to have to get in here and sort through this water. But I don't think that's going to be today. We're just going to deconstruct everything we can that we have access to and not worry about the rest. And there we go. No more hydrogen there. So I'll deconstruct it up to, say, this point here. Oh, you won't be stuck for very long. We have plenty of dupes working on ladders. I mean, this is a lot of gas pipe that we're recovering, especially considering it's 400 kilos each. We don't have another spawn up this high, so all that's being deconstructed. All of these lines can be deconstructed. We have access to those, and then these. And the spawn is pretty much gone. I'd love to be able to grab this excess hydrogen here. That's not worth it. And as I'm deconstructing more stuff, it looks like we have another pod. I love this cleanup party we're doing. We have a Gizmo and an Eduardo. Both, I think, are perfectly acceptable. But I think we're going to take the Gizmo in this case because they have the electrical engineer booster and their only negatives are decreased medicine and science. Alright, I have no idea how to pronounce this one, so I'm just going to go with Stisp, or I guess it could be Saint Hisp. Your guess is as good as mine. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. But either way, welcome to duplicate number 145, Stisp. Alright, that spaghetti there is done. Unfortunately, this line is feeding entirely too much, so I think we'll have this pump feeding this spawn here and this spawn here, which it's currently doing. Notice that this spawn actually has a couple of buffer tanks storing up some water. I'd like to do that for all of them, but we'll have to take care of that in the future. Now, let's start up here. Where is this brine being desalinated from? And how are we warming it? I suppose it's just with our cooling loop. Why aren't you running? Oh, because you don't have enough water to run. That's fine. But you are coming all the way down, going all the way across in a weird little pattern, joining up with a pipe from this cool steam vent. That's fine. And then coming down here and going into the tank. That is perfect. Where are you coming from? Okay, this is from the brine water that we're still emptying here. It's also supplying the 2 center spawns, which this is what we need to fix. while yeah, this is working right now, we want all this water to end up in our big tank. I mean, I don't even want it to separate into this spawn because I want it to come to the tank first and then we feed each spawn from the main tank. So I think step one is getting rid of that. I'm going to have to do this one in a hurry because I think this spawn is providing quite a bit of oxygen, especially for our sleepers. And then I suppose I will just separate off from these spawns. It doesn't really matter right now because all of our suits are filled. So these spawns aren't doing too much. And then what I have to do, once I have all of that water draining, is just find 3 pumps. Where are you going? Oh, this spawn, that's fine. You can be sourced by this guy. Because remember, each one of these spawns takes 8 kilos of water each, so it makes sense they're on their own pipes. In fact, I'm going to need another liquid pump in here. Don't worry, I did find some power for all of them. This line wasn't doing much of anything anyways. And this line could have used a break. Now the only spawn that is not being supplied from the tank itself is going to be this one here. It seems really duplicative to skip by this line, but in order to keep everything nice and clean, I'd rather it be supplied from the spawn itself. This pump is supplying this spawn and this spawn here. Oh, and this cool steam vent is only supplying this spawn, so while I don't love that, and we may flip it around in the future, of course, if I say that, if I don't flip it around now, I'm not going to. And why aren't you coming down the center? There's probably a whole bunch of excess in here that we're not actually using. Let me get all these plumbed out and figure out all this center mass area. So I don't see why this one pump can't supply this spawn and be the backup water for this spawn. And I guess this spawn, which is only a total of 12 kilos of water per second. But again, this very top one has an alternative source with this cool steam vent. I'll probably flip it here in 5 minutes. I'll let you know when I do. Another area of contention for me is the fact that we have a heavy watt wire right here in the dead smack middle of our base, and I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is try something that I have not done in quite some time, and I'm going to try backfeeding our spine. And what I mean by that is you can take a transformer. Notice over here in the power overlay that the power has a sort of flow. And while the picture does show the heavy watt wire on the large side and then conductive wire on the small side, there's nothing to say we can't flip that. Sort of something like this. Notice the arrows showing on the power transformer which way the power is going. So I connect the heavy watt conductive wire to the small end. And then I'm going to take a standard conductive wire, send it up through or maybe down through the barracks. Straight down. I'm going to have to get rid of these for a minute. This is going to be a mess. And then I'm going to replace the heavy watt conductive wire on the steam turbines to regular conductive wire. And now the steam turbines are providing power to the grid using conductive wire. Now the disadvantage of this, it means I still need to get some conductive wire over here to power the transformers. But I can now get rid of all this and then do the same exact thing with this steam turbine. And I don't mind putting this one over here, considering heavy watt wire is not going there. Man, this area is really full. I suppose it does not matter since I'm just feeding it on. I can connect this one this way. I don't love it, but we don't have a lot of room. And then somehow feed yet another conductive wire through here. I will separate it there. Actually, it's going to cost me a little bit more metal, but I'm fine with that in order to keep the wires much cleaner than this. I'm just going to do the same thing, but come up here. And that way, this is a much cleaner run. And there we go. That's now connected. And look at all this material we're going to be able to gain back. Granted, it's mostly lead. That's still more lead that we can use. And now we don't have the giant heavy watt wire coming through our base. I mean, that already looks a whole lot cleaner. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to mess it up here because this is where all of our wheels are going to be going. I'm going to try to put some decor in here, but it's not going to work out very well. But a little bit of negative decor isn't too big of a deal because the rest of the condo is really pretty decent when it comes to decor. So that's not too bad. And this will keep all the dupes who may or may not be running on the wheels busy. And this way, whenever we do need to run on wheels for emergency power or because Dupes are bored, they'll do so inside the condo without using a suit and not over here. I will put one battery on this system here, and that way we can connect them to automation. I suppose it'd be decent to put it right here. Who's scalding now? Stay out of the hot water for 5 minutes. We're about halfway there on the suits. I just queued up the delivery of another 12 suits. Another thing you have to do when you connect your steam turbines in the middle of your colony to this spine in that reverse fashion is update your battery position. The battery's not going to be able to work here because, well, this is not the spine. So the battery can't read how much power is on it. So what you have to do is put a battery all the way over here on your main spine and then run an automation wire all the way back. Now, luckily, automation wires are very inexpensive, so it's not such a huge deal, but something you need to keep in mind. You know one blueprint I wish they had for the drywall? Like a mirror print. It just look reflective. It'd be kind of easy to implement, I would think. I guess the closest I have is aquatic mosaic. I was trying to give the duplicants something nice to look at when they're, you know, running on the wheels. I suppose this is gonna have to do it. For our last dupe of the episode, we have a trifecta of a selection, and both Sonyar and Eduardo both have decreased construction, which I do not love, so we're going to take Chip, who's another ranching boop. So welcome to duplicate number 146, one who watches fire. I'm having a little bit of problems, and the reason why is because, well, we don't have a lot of oxygen inside of our condo. We do have all the spawns hooked up, but of course our tank doesn't have much water. Additionally, we're not generating as much power as we had been, and you'll notice it's because, well, all of our gas reservoirs are empty. And I think we've just hit a perfect storm where 2 out of 3 of our natural gas geysers are dormant. This one here, and this one here. This one still has another 33 cycles of activity, but this natural gas geyser doesn't wake up for another 26 cycles, but this one wakes back up in 7.5. So running we are doing, except for the fact that, you know, there's not a lot of oxygen right now for the dupes to breathe. And I think the best way to fix that is figuring out the water situation, which would be a lot better if we stop running out of power. So I think next episode, we're definitely going to be tapping some geothermal power, but the best solution for us right now is figuring out and making sure all the water is being dumped into that tank. For instance, where do you? Oh, you're our spawn up here. That's fine. This cool steam vent's dormant. But it would be good to have water feeding back on the spine. Why is there gunk in this line? Oh, the boops must have been using it. That's not good, boops. This is polluted water coming from the hospital. So I'm going to feed it back on to our condo line. And I know what you're thinking, more spaghetti, except this is not spaghetti. This is just good, solid plumbing work. And that'll be good because this line also already has a filter, making sure none of the gunk heads down to the water sieve, but more importantly, it cleans up this entire line. So I can take this line and feed it back to our main water tank. Somewhere down here. What are you? Oh, you're going away too. Goody. Oh, in fact, you're already connected right there. So that's perfect. It also means I can get rid of all of this line because this line was coming from all the way up top with that brine geyser. And it will just meet up with the cool steam vent, and after a couple of bridges, we'll head back down to the tank as well. And since our tank needs water right now, I'm going to reduce the automation on this to say just as long as it's above 0, and then I'm going to take our cooling loop and extend it a little bit, just to make sure this brine geyser does not make the water too cold. So I'm going to do something like this, and that'll work out just fine. Not only is it picking up chill, but it's dumping heat from the cooling loop. I mean, look at all the materials we're getting back just from getting rid of our old base. This is wonderful. Now we also have our awkward old polluted water cooling loop. We're going to leave it in place right now. Oh no, I made a mess. No, 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 do not get in my big tank. We'll fix that in a little bit. It's not going to be needed for our condo because we already have our condo's cooling loop, but there are some things that are going to need to be cooled, such as the mushrooms as long as they last. Plus, we're going to be fending off the heat coming from this Dreco ranch. So this is fine that it keeps running. And I suppose for consistency, we shouldn't even be feeding the hospital sinks off of this water line, which is all the brine water being cleaned. So I'm going to separate this here, and it'll be fed by the same line that is feeding this spawn. Oh, wow. This can be a lot cleaner now. Just go up like that. Eventually, we will get rid of all this excess brine water, so it'll just be these two geysers here. But until then, that is still a marketable improvement. Although I have a feeling we could be getting more water into our main tank if this wasn't all on one line. But I'm okay with it because, remember, salt water and brine being desalinated does not produce a lot of water. So you figure we're only getting 70% of 1.4 kilos, and then I think it's 93% of the 3.4 kilos per second. So those two by themselves don't even take up 5 kilos per second. We're also getting the water from this cool steam vent, which is only 1.6 kilos, and then all the excess water from the bathroom system. Those are permanent. The water that's not is all the holdover brine. But again, we'll deal with that in the future. But since it's at capacity right now, and it's a separate system that I'm going to deconstruct eventually anyways, why don't I just have this dump off directly into the water tank? Oh, I guess I got to bring it all the way up since we have no more ladders over there. That was great thinking. Like that. Now we'll get much better throughput. We're just about finished with all the copper errands here at the metal refinery, and I think we're going to take a break from that because of the 1200 watts of power it requires, until I can get the power situation sort of fixed, which leaves us with 45 more suits to do. Oh no, what happened here? But I'm thinking this many suits would be fine to be able to do all the errands that are required out there. So I think it is time to put all of our dupes in suits. Now what I'm going to be doing to make this switch over a little easier is not allow duplicates to go into places where suits are required. That way when the dupes are put in suits, we can go deconstruct all the old suit docks. So here's the sauna. We will no longer let anybody in, just out. I don't care if people are getting itchy eyes, they're not going to get scalded, and I've already removed these docks anyways. Over here in the Dreco Ranch, I do have a door, no one's going in. I need a door here for this one, which we do have, so no one's passing through that way. And I think that's about it. Which means the last thing we have to do is put some atmosuit checkpoints in. We can make these out of lead. Oh boy. It's about to be happy time. Alright, all the atmosuit checkpoints are in. Now granted, there are going to be dupes out here that are not in suits yet. They'll eventually come home because, well, they have to sleep. So I can go in here and start deconstructing all of these places. Here's the industrial sauna suit docks. That's 9 more suits I can put in. Here's another 5, 14. Oh, I just realized all of these suits too at the mushroom farm. Won't be needing those anymore. That'll be great. I'm kind of curious how all of my water disappeared down here. But okay. Now just to make sure, there was no other area where the dupes could get out, right? Pretty sure we fixed all of it. I'm pretty sure we sealed everything off. Oh, here it is. Oh, Jackie, no. I gotta stop dupes from coming in and out through that door. No, no, no. Stop it. Stop it. The door's locked. Why aren't the permissions updating? Let's try locking it, because apparently they're not paying attention to the permissions. Here we go. Now let's find the dupes that snuck in with suits on. This is going to be a pain in the tuchus. But to be honest, if this is the worst of it, that's not too shabby. I guess they'll eventually get an errand where they'll want to leave and they'll already have a suit on, so they'll be able to. The great thing with us removing all these suit docks is we'll be able to move around where the oxygen is and help supplement all the oxygen requirements in the condo, which should start getting ready to be better because we've sort of fixed the fluid situation. It's not perfect, but we're doing a little bit better. And I'm almost finished. 3 more. Oh, sweet release. I've queued up the delivery of all the suits, and it looks like for the most part, the dupes are returning all with suits on. How did you get hurt? Oh, they must have went playing someplace they weren't supposed to without a suit on. We still have a couple of stragglers, isn't that right, Kevor? The last thing I'm up to is reconfiguring some of these oxygen lines. Now that we have the 6 primary spawns running flat out, I need to make sure all the oxygen is supplied evenly in and around the colony. Because in some areas where the duplicates hang out a lot, like here at the wheels, especially considering we don't have a lot of power, we're having some issues. And who? It's peeing already in our brand new condo. You had a bathroom right up here. About the biggest discrepancy I have is on this spawn at the top of our colony is feeding these barracks here and then quite a few up here. So I need to stop that and find another source for this line here. Ooh, I suppose I can let people in the sauna now. There's probably stuff in there that needs to be done. We also have a bunch of lines that we don't need around the colony, so this is going to take probably a whole nother episode's worth of recombobulating. But I do have one solid line from here, but I also have one line that's not being used here too. So why don't I fix this situation a little like this? It's a little wonk, but in the end, it's going to work just right. There we go. Now this spawn is responsible for all the sleeping dupes, which I'm assuming there shouldn't be any more than 30 dupes sleeping at a time. The big problem areas, again, are going to be in the bathroom area, the recreation area, and then the wheels. But it's starting to look a little bit better, and we're even starting to get a surplus of water in our tank. One final update is I needed to make sure that we have clearance vacancy on these docks. Otherwise, the duplicates are likely to come in through the top because it might be the closest one available. But we want them to come back in only where there's available suit docks. Because, well, if the dupes would ever move, I'd be able to show you, but there's quite a few suits sitting here. Which I just remembered, this last level, I wanted to convert into sort of a working area where we could do suit repairs and things like that. But I'm going to have to wait until we have some more power around this situation. Now, if they'll ever move out of the way, I can see how many... Oh, man, there's a lot of Atmos suits sitting there. So, yeah, looks like I'm back to delivering more suits. So if you ever set up a dock system with 100 suits in it, make sure you do clearance vacancy. And now that the dupes are finally in suits, we can let them go swimming again. And we won't have to worry about the boobs electrocuting everybody. But that's gonna do it for today's episode. But with all the dupes in suits, I think that's a pretty significant achievement for this colony. We're gonna have no problem tapping geothermal power here soon, or even coring out the space area. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this video in the comments below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.